7 decades since the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, around 80 new fragments of the ancient texts have been revealed to the public.
Are now being deciphered 2,000 years later, thanks in part to artificial intelligence.
The Beagle 2 lander did not fail. The mission was a success, but the data it found was so terrifying, it had to be buried. For over 20 years, the wreck sat on Mars holding humanity's biggest secret. Now, a new quantum AI has blown that secret wide open. By analyzing signals from the moment of impact, it has reconstructed the lander's final, unsent file. What's in that file changes history, religion, and our future. We're going to show you the data. You won't believe what was waiting for us on the red planet. What really landed on Mars? On Christmas Day 2003, the world was holding its breath. A tiny, plucky British probe, named after Charles Darwin's famous ship, was about to make history. The Beagle 2 lander, weighing only 73 pounds, was set to touch down on a vast flat plain on Mars called Isidis Planitia. Its mission was simple: to sniff the air and drill into the soil to find signs of life. It was a mission of hope, a search for our cosmic neighbors. But that Christmas, all we got was silence. The lander was supposed to send a signal back to Earth, a simple 9-note tune composed by the band Blur, to confirm it had landed safely. That tune never came. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The European Space Agency, or ESA, finally declared the mission a total loss. The Beagle 2 was officially space junk, a $300 million failure, frozen solid in the Martian night, where temperatures dropped to minus 180 degrees Fahrenheit. For over a decade, it was a ghost story, a warning about the brutal dangers of space exploration. Then, in 2015, something amazing happened. NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, soaring hundreds of miles above the planet, snapped a high-resolution picture. There it was, the wreck. The images showed the lander, partially deployed. It looked like a metallic flower that had tried to bloom but failed. 2, maybe 3, of its 4 solar panels had not opened. The case was finally closed. The failure was a mechanical snag. The lander's antenna was trapped under a panel, and its batteries were starved of power. It was a tragic but understandable end. But not all things are what they seem. What many overlooked is that the story didn't end there. In fact, it was just beginning. You see, in the last 2 years, a top-secret consortium of tech giants and space agencies has been running a new program. It's called Project Aether. Its goal? To use the world's most powerful new tool, quantum AI, to reanalyze all of the data we have ever collected from Mars. We're talking petabytes of information. Every radio signal, every magnetic field reading, every pixel from every orbiter, all fed into a machine that doesn't think in ones and zeros, but in all possibilities at once. The AI, a hybrid system linking Google's Sycamore processor with IBM's Eagle, began sifting through the noise. It looked at everything, but it kept coming back to one spot: the silent grave of Beagle 2. This is where the official story breaks down completely. The AI wasn't just looking at the pictures of the wreck. It was analyzing the faint, ghostly static and cosmic ray interference recorded by the Mars Express orbiter as it flew over the landing site back in 2003. To classical computers, this data was just useless noise. But to Aether, it was a hidden conversation. The thing nobody tells you is that the quantum AI found a pattern. It found a signal inside the noise, a tiny, impossibly faint data fragment that lasted for less than 2 minutes. Aether's power was so immense, it could run a perfect simulation of the Martian atmosphere from that exact Christmas day, filtering out every solar flare and radio echo. And what was left was a single, terrifying, history-changing transmission from the failed lander. The lander hadn't been silent after all. It had screamed. The transmission wasn't the 9-note song. It wasn't a weather report. It was a burst of telemetry from its drill, the mole. The data showed the mole had drilled 3 feet into the soil, and then it hit something. Something that wasn't rock. Something that wasn't ice. It was a material with a perfectly uniform, crystalline structure. And as the mole's sensors touched it, the lander's systems were hit with a massive energy surge, shorting them out. The lander didn't just fail, it was eliminated. But that's not the history-changing part. The final garbled data packet from Beagle 2 wasn't just sensor readings. It was a code, a complex mathematical sequence that the lander had recorded coming from the thing it touched. It was a signal, an unmistakable, intelligent, and unnatural signal. The Beagle 2 didn't just find a weird rock, it found an artifact. A discovery this big changes everything. But how could a machine hear a ghost? The 90-second secret. To understand what Aether found, you have to understand how it listens. Think of it this way. A normal computer is like a flashlight in a dark cave. It can only point at one spot at a time. A quantum computer is like a light bulb that instantly lights up the entire cave, showing every path, every crack, and every shadow, all at the same moment. This is called superposition, and it's the key. For 20 years, scientists had looked at the data from the Mars Express orbiter. They saw static. They were trying to find a single, clean signal from Beagle 2, and they couldn't. But Project Aether took a different approach. The AI didn't look for a signal. It built a perfect digital twin of the Beagle 2 lander, the Martian atmosphere, and the soil of Isidis Planitia, all at the quantum level. It simulated the landing, the bounce, the failed deployment. It simulated every single atom. Then it fed the static from 2003 into this simulation. The AI began to run correlations. It asked, what tiny hidden signal, if it did exist, would be twisted by this specific atmosphere and this specific solar radiation to create the exact noise we have recorded? It was, to put it mildly, like trying to reconstruct a single spoken word from the echo of that word in a hurricane a year later. For a normal computer, it's impossible. For Aether, it took about 4 hours. The AI isolated a signal that lasted just 97 seconds. It came to be known as the Isidis echo. Here's the catch. The signal didn't come from the lander's main antenna. That was blocked, just like the official report said. The signal was a low-power leak from the lander's own internal wiring, specifically the cable running to the paw, or planetary undersurface mole. The lander was, in its final moments, acting as a crude, accidental antenna. It was broadcasting what the mole was feeling, and what it felt was, by all accounts, impossible. The data stream was clear. The mole, a small, spring-loaded drill designed to crawl across the surface and burrow into the dirt, had deployed successfully. This itself was a shock, as it was assumed nothing worked. It crawled about 6 feet from the lander body, angled itself down, and began to hammer into the red soil. The first 30 seconds of data were normal. It registered loose regolith, then a layer of permafrost. Standard Mars geology. Then, at a depth of 3.6 feet, everything changes. The mole's sensors lit up. Temperature readings, which had been a frigid minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, spiked to over 400 degrees in less than a second. The mole's accelerometers, which measure vibration, registered a perfect harmonic resonance, like a tuning fork had been struck. The material wasn't just hard, it was singing. At the same time, the lander's main computer recorded a massive electromagnetic pulse. This pulse wasn't from the lander's own systems, it was external. It was a directed surge of energy from the object the mole had just touched. It was a defensive response. The Beagle 2 hadn't just found a rock, it had poked something, and that something poked back. The AI simulation showed the pulse fried the lander's primary systems, ending the transmission. But for those 97 seconds, it had sent a waterfall of data. And tucked inside that data was the code, a repeating string of prime numbers, but in a sequence that was not random. It was a mathematical language. The quantum AI is still trying to fully crack it, but the preliminary translation is, to say the least, world-ending. This wasn't just a buried object, it was a beacon. And the Beagle 2 had just woken it up. So, what is this beacon sitting just 3 feet under the Martian dust? A message from an extinct race. The data from the Isidis echo, once decoded by Project Aether, painted a picture that no one was prepared for. This wasn't a natural formation. This wasn't a meteor fragment. The AI's analysis of the mole's sensor data was conclusive. The object buried in Isidis Planitia is a manufactured artifact. Aether's simulation, based on the material's resonant frequency and electromagnetic response, has given it a name: the Isidis anomaly. It is estimated to be a smooth, flat object, like a slab, about 27 feet long and 9 feet wide. Its corners, according to the magnetic imaging, are perfect 90-degree angles. Its composition is, apparently, a crystalline metallic alloy, one that does not appear on any known periodic table. It is, by all definitions, alien technology. Many people are crazy about wild theories, but this one is now backed by quantum data. For decades, we've seen strange things on Mars. The famous face on Mars in the Cydonia region, the pyramids nearby, the strange glass-like tubes photographed by rovers. Science has always dismissed these as pareidolia, our brain seeing patterns in random rocks. But the Isidis anomaly is different. It wasn't seen, it was touched, and it responded. The thing nobody tells you is that this changes everything we thought we knew about those other mysteries. What if the face on Mars wasn't just a trick of light and shadow? What if it was a monument, eroded by millions of years of dust storms, pointing to something else? The Isidis anomaly is located thousands of miles from Cydonia. This suggests not just one artifact, but a network, a planet-wide civilization. But here's the most mind-blowing part. The code that the anomaly pulsed into the Beagle 2, the quantum AI has been working on it. It wasn't a hello, it wasn't a welcome. The AI identified it as a complex data packet, and after running it against every known human language and mathematical model, it found a match. It was a star chart, but it's not our star chart. It shows the galaxy, but from a completely different perspective, from a solar system over 80,000 light-years away. And the chart is old. The AI used the stellar drift data encoded in the map to date it. The map is approximately 1.5 billion years old. Mars at that time was thought to be a dying world. But Earth was just beginning to see its first complex, multicellular life. The implication is staggering. 1.5 billion years ago, an advanced civilization traveled across the galaxy, visited our solar system, and left a beacon on Mars. A beacon that sat silent, waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for the next intelligent species in this system, humanity, to finally reach out and touch it. The Beagle 2 wasn't a failure. It was the first human to knock on the door, and the anomaly just answered. This is the wow factor that has sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. The artifact is a Rosetta Stone, not for a lost human language, but for a galactic one. A discovery this big can't be kept secret for long. Or can it? What China and SpaceX really know. If you found a billion-year-old alien beacon, wouldn't you shout it from the rooftops? Well, the thing is, governments don't work that way. The second project. Ether delivered its report. The data was classified above top secret. It was buried so deep, only a handful of people on the planet know it even exists. Why? What's the reason for the cover-up? To put it mildly, the truth would break the world. Think about it. Every religion, every government, every economic system on Earth is built on one fundamental idea: that we are the center of the universe, that we are the only, or at least the first, intelligence. The Isidis anomaly proves that we are, at best, late to the party. We are cosmic infants. The knowledge that a billion-year-old intelligence has been watching us, or at least left a tripwire on our neighbor's front porch, would cause total global panic. Markets would collapse. New, terrified religions would form. It would be chaos. So, the secret is being kept. But if you know where to look, you can see the cover-up in action. You don't see it in what they say. You see it in what they do. Suddenly, does the new space race make a lot more sense? Why is NASA suddenly fast-tracking its Artemis program to build a permanent moon base? It's not a base, it's a staging ground for Mars. Why has China announced 3 new, ambitious Mars missions, all set to land in the next few years? Why is SpaceX's Elon Musk so obsessed with getting to Mars, talking about it with an almost religious, desperate urgency? They aren't in a race to explore Mars. They are in a race to get to the anomaly. The Beagle 2 wreck, that 73-pound failure, is now the single most valuable piece of real estate in the solar system. It is a golden marker. It is the X on a treasure map. Whoever gets to that wreck first and the anomaly buried 3.6 feet beneath it will control the future. They will be the ones to get the Rosetta Stone. They will be the ones to unlock the secrets of a billion-year-old technology. Wild theories are flying. Some insiders believe the anomaly is not just a map, but a gateway. Others believe it's a warning, a do not enter sign for a part of the galaxy we are not ready for. The quantum AI, for its part, has only offered one more cryptic conclusion. The star chart it decoded, the solar system at its center, the one that is 80,000 light-years away, that system, according to our telescopes, is dark. The star went cold. Whatever this civilization was, it's gone. And the anomaly on Mars is its tombstone. This all seems like science fiction. Are we just missing a key detail? Are we ready for the truth? Christmas Day, 2003. The world held its breath. In a control room in the UK, scientists stared at a blank screen, waiting for a signal. They were waiting for a 9-note, plinky-plonky tune composed by a pop band, a signal that would announce the successful landing of the Beagle 2, a tiny ambitious probe that had hitched a ride to Mars. The signal never came. Christmas passed, then New Year's. By February, the mission was declared lost. Beagle 2 was officially a tombstone, a $60 million failure buried somewhere in the vast, red desert of Mars. For over 2 decades, that was the end of the story. A tragic, heroic failure. But what if the silence wasn't empty? What if the failure wasn't a failure at all, but the most terrifying success in human history? Fast forward to today. We are in the age of quantum AI. We have built machines that don't just calculate, they think, they perceive. At the forefront is Project Aether, a classified quantum system designed for one purpose: to find patterns in the chaos. Its creators fed it everything: decades of forgotten data, deep space radio signals, solar flare interference, and the endless whispering static that astronomers have been trying to filter out for a century. Aether was tasked with listening to the noise, and it found something. The AI's quantum mind drifted back to 2003. It focused on the faint, ghost-like carrier wave from the Mars Odyssey orbiter, the satellite that was supposed to relay Beagle 2's song. To human ears, it was meaningless static, junk data. But Aether, listening with a patience beyond human comprehension, heard a whisper. It began to clean the signal, stripping away layers of solar radiation and cosmic noise, amplifying a ghost in the machine. And the static resolved. It wasn't random. It was a pattern, a complex, repeating mathematical sequence, a heartbeat in the noise. But the signal wasn't from Beagle 2. The AI analyzed the signal's origin, triangulating it from the residual data. The signal was coming from beneath the lander. The data showed that when the 150-pound Beagle 2 probe slammed into the surface of Isidis Planitia, its impact, the crash of this tiny human-made object, was an unscheduled knock on a door. It acted like a key in a lock, and something, buried deep in the dust, woke up. It triggered a response, a signal that had been waiting, dormant, for an unimaginable amount of time. Aether calculated the age of the signal's source. It wasn't thousands of years old. It wasn't millions. According to the AI's analysis, the object that Beagle 2 hit had been buried for over 1 billion years. It was an alien beacon. It is a lot to take in. You're probably wondering, is this all true? Did a quantum AI really find a billion-year-old alien beacon by listening to static? Or is this just the most complex, wild theory ever put together? The thing is, we are living in a new age. Technologies like Project Aether are becoming so powerful, they are literally magic to us. They can see the invisible. They can hear the silent. They are opening boxes that we, as a species, may not be ready for. What many overlooked is that the line between credible and impossible is being erased. This discovery changes everything. Every myth of ancient gods, every strange radio signal from the stars, every question about why the universe is so silent. It's been silent because we were listening for the wrong things. We were listening for whispers from distant stars when the message was already here waiting. In our own backyard, the Beagle 2 mission was born from a very human desire to find life, to know we are not alone. Its creators, who built it in a garage with a fraction of NASA's budget, would be stunned to know what they actually found. They weren't looking for microbes. They were, without knowing it, a cosmic fishing lure. And they just snagged a Leviathan. For 2 decades, we thought the mission failed. We even found the crash site in 2015, a few lonely, partially deployed solar panels glinting in the weak Martian sun. We mourned it as a noble attempt, but we were looking at the wrong thing. We were looking at the lure, not at what the lure had caught. Today, the wreck of the Beagle 2 sits in the red dust of Isidis Planitia. It's no longer a tombstone for a failed mission. It's a signpost. It's the key to a door that we, as humanity, are about to unlock. And on the other side of that door is everything else. The AI's discovery has changed our history forever because it has shown us that our real history hasn't even begun. The next human missions to Mars, whether they are from NASA, China, or SpaceX, will not be missions of exploration. They will be archaeological digs. They will be recovery operations. The race to Mars is no longer about flags and footprints. It is now a desperate, frantic race to be the first to unearth this thing. And when they finally dig up that 27-foot slab, humanity will be formally introduced to the universe. We will find out, once and for all, if we were the first Roy, or if we are just the last. The Isidis anomaly is waiting. Do you think we should dig it up or leave the secrets of the past buried? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.